Hello, Scott. Welcome to Awaken Hidden Truth. How are you?
I'm good, Perry. Thanks for having me here and for kind of co-creating this ongoing presentation for the benefit of all life on planet Earth. Although there are many people on Earth who don't understand what it is I'm doing. As you know, this type of my work with your show and the private sessions I conduct, which the public knows nothing about, have no monetary involvement. There's no money involved. I don't charge anything. And maybe that makes some people jealous or makes them not understand what it is I'm doing or how I do it. But what I do is meant for their benefit as well. Ultimately, it will be for their benefit. I'm not from around here, from this world. And I came here to help bring about a very unexpected transformation for this planet and its people because of something that happened in recent galactic history and multidimensional history that makes this possible now for the first time. So that's my motivation. I don't really give a hoot whether anybody believes it or not. I don't throw stones at other people out in the hidden truth or disclosure or UFO community. Many of them have thrown stones at me made up out of thin air because they get angry or defensive or they are carrying anger or fear of the future or something. But I don't ever get into debates or get into any kind of controversy with any of them because eventually they'll drop that subconscious fear that drives them. And they'll realize the error of their ways in throwing stones at all the wrong directions and at the wrong people. Because while they're doing that, they're setting up repercussions in space-time. Basic law of physics, every action creates an equal but opposite reaction. So if they're throwing stones at political people, classified people, the rest of humanity, their fellow beings in those areas of supposed hidden truth and truth disclosure. If they're throwing anger into the future, if they're throwing fear of the future out anywhere, they're doing themselves and all of their life a disservice. They're not being beneficial to anyone because they're carrying the form of negativity and putting it out about the future. And that has to come back to them. Spiritual law 101. So it's not a good thing to throw any kind of negative emotions towards other beings. It just comes back to the people doing it, one way or another. What we want to do is discover how to use our creative imagination and our creative abilities as the Atma, the real being, the spherical being that we are, not the body, and awaken how to co-create with the source behind all life, which carries no negative element in it, emotionally, mentally, or imaginatively at all. The omnipresent living force behind all creation has recently gone through a change itself. What people on earth call divine spirit is a co-creator with individual beings like us. And it will fill whatever imagination emotionally powered people put into it, good or bad. Now that's obvious when you look at the condition of this planet, right? And so it stays stuck, stultified, held back. People are still throwing out of their own misdirected misunderstanding of what their purpose for life is. And because they've never been trained from birth on this planet about how to use their creative imagination, which has nothing to do with the brain in a body at all. It has to do with the being running the body. Waking up that and learning how to utilize the higher faculties to implement them out into the universe properly sets a being free of subconscious negative drives. They don't even know they have. For the most part, in most cases, most people don't know what it is that's subconsciously influencing their thought processes. If it's negative in nature, then it creates repercussions in space-time. If it's positive in nature, or let's say beyond positive and negative, and it's beneficial, done intentionally for the uplifting benefit of all life, not just life on Earth, all life out there, then there isn't a repercussion in space-time. There's no karma. because it's an outflow of a type of energy through what they are, the energy that makes them up, that only creates constructive results and doesn't result in a repercussion that's negative. What goes out comes back, so to speak. We want to get above that and operate not being the effect of cause and effect, time and space, law of karma, good and bad. A being's purpose, like us, like you, like myself, and all other people on this earth, the purpose we exist, the reason we exist as a being, not a body, is to discover how to be a trustworthy co-creator with the source itself. Because the energy that comprises an individual being or soul has structure. It's spherical, round. It's not made of nuclear material. It's not atoms, it's not protons, it's not nucleons, it's not quarks, it's not quantum physics. It's an energy that is behind and supporting the whole entire multidimensional creation that is not nuclear in nature. It is energy, but not as people understand it yet, not especially on Earth. Many vast numbers of beings on other worlds in our galaxy understand this. And they're discovering more all the time. The type of beings that we're willing to share how people, with people on Earth, when they've risen in vibration enough to request it. You cannot request of this source behind all life, this living energy, this omnipresent energy, this first sound behind all creation. You cannot request it to give you good and bad things and come out of this enlightened. You can't say, I want a wonderful future for myself and my family, but there's this Armageddon coming our way any day now. Planet X is going to come by and wipe everybody out, or a meteor, or any of that. Because it puts out a negative energy towards the future, creates the circumstances. Maybe not strong enough to cause it, but strong enough to bring negative circumstances into the life of the person doing it, sooner or later. It's not a wise thing to do. So I'll make mention of that, throwing stones at no one, because those people know who they are. And if they have any intelligence about them at all, after all they've been through, they'll begin to realize that what they're doing is incorrect, and it will cause problems for them, not me. Because it doesn't cause any problems for me at all. Okay, we move on then in our presentation. And I wonder where it is we're going to go tonight.
I don't know yet, but I would like to share with the audience, like experience that I have. I mean, I become more serenity, less fear, and very happy in life, much more happier than before, because I could understand. And it is very important to start, before starting this journey, to read your 2 books, Scott, or maybe start with the series agenda, and
probably would be a good idea. Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up. And I do. My intention to really make this program, this show, about selling books, but on Earth the way it is today. It's a good thing that I publish these now. This used to be published through a New York Times publisher. I have all the rights back in ancillary. They don't have it. I've stopped associating with them, thanked them for their time, and now these are published through my company. Because publishers on Earth will not put any energy into promoting you unless you're already running like New York Times and successful, and it's a phenomenon. With any author, you kind of have to promote yourself. So by having this book published through my company, and this one, the first book of the Parallel Time Trilogy, if you can see the back of the book, you see that Lemurian symbol, Total Spectrum Publishing back there. See, right here?
Mm-hmm.
That's my publishing company. Therefore, I have no limits in what I can do to get this work out to people. And because they're published through practical avenues like print on demand at Amazon, or an ebook download from iTunes, or Barnes and Noble bookstores, or Ingram Spark, which probably distributes to 70% of the world's for the publishers of the world to bookstores around the world. They also do print on demand like Amazon. So for instance, in Thailand, if someone comes in there and they can't get this book because there's no Amazon in Thailand, they can go to a bookstore and order it. And Ingram Spark will print on demand and see to it the bookstore gets it so you can get it from the store. Right? Correct. It is only in English for now. And that seems to be a limitation for people that speak other languages. But the way the book works, the way they're designed to work with cooperation and co-creativity of friends not from Earth that I work with, is to benefit people to recover what they were deliberately made to forget. Like who they are as a being, not a body, and how to move it around the universe. That they don't even remember. The Sayre's agenda is about beings out in space on other worlds and other dimensions that recently went through an unexpected change in consciousness because of the Sayres, a tall human race, one of the oldest races in creation. They went through a change, and it got them motivated to take a particular personal role in helping to wake people up on this backward planet Earth who don't remember who they are. They haven't got a clue what soul is, or who it is, or what it's like, or how to move it around. Most people on Earth haven't got a clue. They have a religion or a faith they believe in, perfectly okay. But so far, I haven't seen any of those kinds of things liberate people while they're alive. You got to wait till you're dead to find out what this greater truth is. And that's really not the way beings from other worlds operate. They don't have this problem. They didn't grow up on Earth. None of the religions that are represented on this planet are represented anywhere else off this world, in this galaxy, or any place else. They don't exist out there. And some people on Earth, in their arrogance, might think, well, that makes them inferior to people on Earth. But they actually know more about Prime Creator, the source behind all life, than anybody on Earth. And they co-create with it. They don't worship it. This just means that the source, and I've been there many times, the source behind all life, which exists far above the void, known to many esoteric groups on Earth, or few anyway, never requested, encouraged, or asked that we worship it in the first place. The only thing that's really required is that we respect it and each other and all life out there and in the other dimensions. For people on Earth to do this and fulfill this requirement so they can be co-creators with it and become free, become aware, then they have to know what all that life is that's out there, don't they? Or you can't respect what you don't know about. See?
Can we go to meet with Source today? Possible?
Well, we can. I normally don't try to get people on a radio show around the world going that far beyond Earth, unless they have a real grounded understanding of particularly this book, because it reveals what's changed out there in advanced races that's moving in this direction, which has changed the past negative prophesied destructive destiny for this planet, neutralized it permanently and moved it into a new direction, a non-destructive one. No Armageddon, no polar flips. That's already done. People on Earth just don't know it yet. In 2020, soon.
Scott, I would like to tell to audience, read your books, 2 books if possible, okay, and then go on journeys, like once a week, twice a week, that you will feel.
Oh, that's like the radio show here, right? We record, I take people,
Yeah.
I help people get into the sleep state. The same thing they put their body in every night anyway, except instead of identifying with the body and going unconscious with it, they stay alert. The body goes into the trance state, trance meaning it's on automatic. That's all that means. The body can't be hypnotized. It's a physical genetic entity. The Atma, the real being or soul, runs a body through the pineal gland in the center of the brain, runs a nervous system, is connected to it in this way. But what we are is not one of these. No being that runs a human body has ever been a body. They just believe wrongly that they are. And they've been forced, compelled in no uncertain terms in their past before they were born here to falsely believe this by tyrants, and tyrants not on earth. There are techniques in the back of this book, and if you see it, this is a mile-long cylindrical parent ship. It's called an Emerald Star Cruiser in English. Has a bridge control room on one end, one identical one on the other end. And it's stationed in the ice rings, the ice chunks that make up the rings of the planet Saturn in our solar system. These are galactic scouts about 30 feet across, 3 semispheric pods underneath, little blue anti-gravitic lights around both because they move through the universe on a type of energy that doesn't pollute, doesn't burn fuel, is not radioactive. Hard for people to comprehend that. And this ship is now permanently stationed in our solar system for a while, monitoring things. They're not going to allow the Earth to blow itself up, for one thing, and they've stopped it many times. There are bases in parallel dimensions on Earth. These guys have the technology to go between. And they have actually kept nuclear war from happening on this planet 12 separate times. So that's very highly classified. The techniques in the back of this book were written for the prologue and all 29 chapters. Each one dealing with the hue sound, first half of the word human, human or human, 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 which is a word that did not get created on planet Earth in its history. The languages people speak here did not get created on this planet either. People can trace back their roots in ancient history, as little ancient history as they can find. 10,000 years, 20,000 years maybe, tops. That's nothing. If you want to find the secrets to how human beings came into existence, how these bodies developed genetically to a point where the Atma can run higher faculties through them, which is the way they're supposed to work, and don't on Earth for the most part, then you have to get off planet, out in the universe to see that history, because human beings never evolved on this planet. None of the races represented here ever evolved here. They were brought here from other worlds where, for instance, the Asian, certain Asian race, whole planetary systems with just that kind of human being on. African American, whole planetary systems with people with darker skin, and so forth. Most of the Native American tribes in the United States and indigenous tribes around the world, most of them know they were brought here from the stars to this day. Nobody in government will listen to them. That's a mistake, because at least they know they came here from other worlds, which makes them more enlightened than the people who treat them poorly. The Emerald Doorway, if you see this right here, this is book 1 of the Parallel Time Trilogy. The other 2 are written. This one's published. This is a master teacher. His name is Ramu. This is Kalem. This is Melina. This is Etta. He is a silica-based Ren creature that evolved on another mostly water-covered world with the ability to levitate and fly through the air as an organic creature. And this master has just signaled this, whatever this is, to come out through this interdimensional opening, which goes to the first dimension beyond the void. There is one. This is Kalem's ship hovering in stationary orbit. They're on anti-gravitic discs, which ground them to the disk, and they can fly through the air on these. And he has them out over the ocean after the poles have flipped, destroying Lemuria and most of Atlantis, which was a big colony continent of Lemuria 100,000 years ago. And these are new land masses that have formed, and he's introducing them to the prime creator, the source. And what they don't know when he's introducing them at this time, these 3 beings do not realize that they have one of these hovering above their heads. They are the same as this, the source itself, on a smaller scale. Same energy, same faculties of creativity. And we're meant to co-create with this source. People will find out a lot about extraterrestrials to some degree, involved in Earth 100,000 years ago, before the last polar flip, and how they are influencing things today, good or bad, on Earth. So they'll be very valuable for people to be able to get a grounded understanding of how the universe is changing. and how people on Earth are going to have a co-creative part in that. Okay. Okay, anyway, if you look at this music album, I'm a composer also, but if you look at it,
It's a reflection.
Stranger on a Lost Island, Scott Lemurian. Well, that's the old album cover. The newest one has The Stranger on a Lost Island in big letters and my name in small letters, but I'll just show you this one. Here's Master Ramu with his crystal staff. If you can see it, it's a lot of reflection, maybe like that. Is that better?
Yes.
This is quartz, and it's got a what is called an ankh. It's a cross with a vertical oval hole in the center. Top of it, it's a device, and he's taking Melina with blue skin. She come out of a boat. He's going to take her through this opening, and up in this corner, you can't see it very well, is planet Earth. There it is. And there's our galaxy, and he's going to take her through this opening, this interdimensional doorway, off to visit this. This is what this music album cover is like. Stranger on a Lost Island. And when I say stranger on a lost island, I mean planet Earth. What people on Earth don't realize is that they're all extraterrestrial in origin. PhDs that teach them things in universities about Cro-Magnon and Neanderthal man do so because they don't have anything else to draw from than trying to put bones together. They've never been able to prove that we came from either species, which are extinct Homo sapien. They're kind of humanoid races. And we didn't evolve from them. We didn't come out of Cro-Magnon man or Neanderthal. And we didn't evolve on this planet. Human beings in this form and in higher forms evolved several billions of years ago out in the galaxies and were brought here. This world has been capable of sustaining human life in this form for almost 65 million years, since the dinosaurs were made extinct. That missing history is missing in almost everybody on this planet. They have no idea. They don't remember. They don't even remember how they got to be and born in a body on this planet or what they knew before that. So all they get given during life is whatever religion or belief system is taught them from other people who don't know. They may have faith, but they don't really know. And this is important, that real light and sound and real awareness come into the faith-based systems on this planet. So they become really enlightening through direct experience. And that's the only intent anybody from other worlds has, isn't to get anybody into or out of any religion. It's to help them wake up and have direct experience about what it is they believe and what's out there beyond Earth in the other dimensions on the other planets, which is not in any of their religions or books on this world at all. At least not any made available to the public. There are people on Earth that classified arena that know about extraterrestrials. Most certainly they do. And they're still working in fear. Not all races among the stars are kind. Most of them, but not all. And certain people in political positions and those behind them in this classified government have met with both good and tyrant beings from other worlds. The people were kept in the dark about this. Ultimately, the people on Earth in these political systems and the classified government behind them will have to disclose all of this to the people on this planet. The energy that's moving through the universe right now from far more advanced races is moving this way. And Earth's people are inevitably going to have to recover what they knew. And governments on this world will change for the better. Deceit and dishonesty will be a thing of the past. It's inevitable at this point. And I can tell you that many people in the classified arenas understand this now, because their beings from other worlds have told them, shown them point blank, you're not going to be able to take your fear-ridden subconscious minds and arguments out among the stars and go mine planets, because space is already occupied by far more advanced races, and they won't tolerate it, and they're not going to. So that means Earth and its people have to wake up and join these larger world systems and derive the benefits from doing so. But not like we are now. We're too dangerous. People don't remember who they are. They operate from fear. They make incorrect decisions all the time on this planet because they're in fear, subconscious fear. They don't even know they have. So that's got to go first. It's just a simple fact. It does. If people are going to progress here at all and wake up, then the fear has to go bye-bye forever. Fear of anything. It's a negative, artificially created emotion designed by tyrants to control atmas, beings that run bodies. So it's very important for people to remember what they are. If they think they're a brain and a body, they're not going to be able to change anything in this lifetime. What can one brain and one body learn in a lifetime from school systems on this planet about anything? Almost nothing. And you grow up as an adult and all you've got is what you've learned in a college or a university from theory, mostly theory, which isn't even fact, just belief. How are they going to change their life, their reality, their consciousness, and really understand what the universe is about or what part they have to co-creatively play in it? If they remain living in an illusion of free will. What is free will? Well, a being who knows what it is that's spherical, understands its structure, that is not material, not nuclear, not DNA, running a genetic entity that is material in his DNA. That being, the real us, can comprehend the multidimensional creation. And it understands what's going on out there from countless lives on many worlds and many dimensional levels, what people call heaven. Before they were born here and made to forget one way or another, they knew this, which means it's recoverable, which means it can be recovered, recalled, remembered. This is really the basis for the reason why I'm on this planet. And the basis for my work is to help people recover that. I don't care what faith they're in or anything like that. You know, they're busy fighting each other over belief systems or political ideology, which makes no sense to anyone off this world, for most races out there. It's nonsense. They don't practice it. They don't do it. They don't fight over this stuff. They know. They're not tyrants, the beings I work with, so they're not going to force it on anyone. The energy that's new in this omnipresent living field of force, the hue part of hue man and hue woman, that allows a being to connect to that omnipresent field of force telepathically, which is beyond the use of psychic energies, quite beyond it, and not vulnerable to misinterpretation. That link between the core, the white core of the being, which is an atma or soul, like that picture you have on your shelf there that I sent you.
Do you want me to show?
Sure, of course, it's very important. As you can see, there's a white core in the center of our being. This energy that has this colors of the spectrum broken down in it is not made of physical light or the speed of light. It's not made of atoms and neutrons and protons and quarks, and it's not quantum physics. It's an energy that has different levels to it in the shape of a sphere. It goes from a white to a yellow to an orange to a red, and then there's a lot of illumination around here, but then it goes to green, then blue, then lavender, then violet, and the whole thing's surrounded by a kind of a golden glow. That's what soul looks like structurally. People on Earth are not taught this anywhere, but it's common knowledge out among the stars. And it's this that runs a body. And it's this that is comprised out of the same identical structure of the source or prime creator itself. Like a drop of this pure energy out of a mighty ocean of it. And it's this that imagines, not the brain. This is what's capable of using the creative imagination to see into the multiverse, tell this omnipresent field of force that underlies everything, where it wants to go and what it wants to experience. And that omnipresent force will create the circumstances and get you there.
Scott, each color represent what? Can you tell us?
Well, they represent different levels of faculties, of higher faculties of being. And they also correspond to the different dimensions that an Atma runs a body in, like a body in the physical planet Earth, a body made of astral matter, higher molecular time rate, that's living a life there, lives much longer, a body in the causal plane, a body in the etheric plane, a body in a mental plane, and then the etheric. People have these forms they're running as one Atma, and they've been made to forget all about all this. Their higher selves aren't always aware enough to care about helping you here, or Earth would be quite different. Part of enlightenment is getting them awakened in these much higher planes below the void, where they're caught up in their own kind of illusion with higher abilities and higher bodies and a semi-appearance of living eternally, which they don't. You know, like in the etheric plane, you can live for millions of years in one form. But that's a drop in the bucket in hundreds of billions, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And none of those planes are permanent for a being to hang out there. Sooner or later, they have to incarnate or run bodies on the various planes and wake them up. Why? Because ultimately their experience in incarnations in those lower worlds is for them to be able to take their experience back to the source, way beyond the void, up into the upper worlds where no negativity exists, and deliver it to the source as a co-creator to help change what it knows. The source behind all life does not know everything. It knows what's going on in present time, but it doesn't know what's yet to come, because all of us collectively, on all the levels, make up that source. And our part in this is to help create better ways to do things than have ever been done before. Our part is to eventually create the lower dimensions of time and space to be mirrors of the way the upper worlds work. That's never been accomplished in hundreds of billions of years yet. But it's underway for the first time. People are living on Earth unconscious of who they are, not realizing they're in the middle of the beginning of something extraordinary. A change that's never happened in creation before. From the highest level, the source, the ocean of light and sound itself, and beyond it, all the way down to this physical planet Earth. And all the beings in between there and here are going through a change. So part of my job is to help people become aware of that and snap out of their hypnotic state they're in on this planet, incorrectly believing they're a body and not remember anything. That's certainly hypnotized, if anything is. It means there's subconscious things that terrorize people about knowing how to be out of their body. They're afraid of it. Or how to go from here to another planet, leaving your body on automatic. People go out of their body every night when they put it to sleep. But they're not trained from birth on this planet to think it has value or to do anything with it. They don't use their higher faculties to download where they've been into that brain when they come back in the morning, because the brain has none of that in it. There's nothing in a person's brain they grew up with in this lifetime that knows all that stuff out there, except what they've learned in that brain for this lifetime. That's all they ever have in it. So if people want to know all that stuff, they got to be this, go experience it and bring it back to the body. That's enlightenment. Okay? I'm just sharing the bold-faced, stark truth with people here. That's it. Because down deep, it'll stir something in them. They begin to remember. So it's all good. Okay. Well, you have any other questions, Perry?
No, I don't have. I'm waiting for the journey, because that journey helped me a lot to have more experience,
Okay.
Wonderful experiences.
Well, we go about this, and I wish it could be done instantly, but people on Earth aren't really ready for instant enlightenment. They might believe they are, but it's just a selfish attitude. It's kind of an impatient attitude that really is a form of negativity, which involves fear of the future and the fear of the failure. And those are negative, and they create a block in the way of people progressing. So we don't take fears, subconscious drives, or anything relative to the body you have on Earth with us on these journeys. We get the body in the trance state, not hypnotized. We get it to go on automatic. It goes to sleep. The eyes are closed. The brain is shut off, basically. The pineal gland secretes serotonin, makes melatonin, and runs the body in automatic, keeps it breathing and all of that while you're out, gone, exploring. People do it every night and have no idea they're doing it, or very little. So when I say people are terrorized of the future because they've been made to think this way growing up on this planet, world wars and all that kind of thing, when they are afraid that a demon, for instance, will get them if they get out of their body, they're not understanding that what gets out of the body is already out of the body, and it's spherical. It's not nuclear. There isn't any negative force or power that can affect it in any way, unless that Atma believes a negative power can affect it and adds its energy to it to be controlled, which is what has happened to people on Earth. They've been hoodwinked, lied to, misrepresented, even tortured to death, and imprisoned in an energy field around the Atma, which tyrants can't harm, to look through it and see distorted images of creation so they can be controlled. Those are artificial programs, and they can be removed. They can be neutralized. Down deep in the core of a being, an Atma like you or I, we all know that we have always had mastery or power over any form of negative nature. In the end of your experience and journey through lives, the only thing that's erasable is the negative ones. The constructive and uplifting positive ones are not erasable. Isn't that interesting? So we will move forward with that. I would ask people to be comfortable sitting in a chair or lying down. Remember, this is no more difficult really than what you do in putting your body to sleep every night, which none of you think of as a great effort. The difference is I work telepathically, which means there's a link of energy that's pure. It's not part of the positive and negative stream. It connects all beings and things together to a primary source of energy that supports everything. That is not negative and positive. That is an energy that supports everything in a neutral fashion. It is a co-creator with us. We create our own trap where tyrants convince us to trap ourselves by imagining negative things about the future and positive things at the same time. They're opposing forces, and they ground one's momentum into the ground and bind people to the earth, to an animal consciousness that they're some kind of a body, which they've never been. I get people to take several deep breaths. And all they're doing now with their eyes closed is putting all their fears of the future, anger, jealousy, greed, undue attachment to material possessions, lust out of balance for things they don't need and really wouldn't be good for them. It can be money, sex, it can be anything that's out of balance and too much indulged in, out of excluding all the other things that a being needs to do in the normal course of being a being, not a body. There's nothing wrong with bodies. It's just that people aren't aware that they are not bodies on Earth yet. They need to recover this basic awareness of who they are as energy. You could put a hydrogen bomb under an Atma and blow it up, and the Atma would not be harmed at all. This is what I'm trying to get across to people. I send out something myself and do it on almost every show that we do. And certainly in private sessions I conduct to guide people beyond this earth while they're alive here. And that is, I send out a certain formulated, it's like a technique. It involves a certain series of words that are constructed in a certain way to tell this omnipresent field of energy, this living force behind all life, what I'm aware enough now to ask it to do with me in co-creativity, and I do this for others. And here is what I send out to it. Consider it like a meditation or a contemplation. Contemplation being more active because it involves the creative imagination. Without that, exercising the creative imagination, you will not go anywhere or travel any place in the multidimensional universe to know anything. Meditation that gets a person still in the nervous system, calm, and thoughts stopped is only the beginning of the process. After that, we have to be very active with our creative imaginations to go anywhere, to do anything. The imagination, when you sit in a classroom, maybe you're bored, let's just use it as an example, and you look out the window and your eyes can see the parking lot, but you're imagining being on that ski trip this weekend, or you're imagining being on another planet, which is where all material for film and books come from, people's imagination. What they don't realize for the most part is when their imagination is working or they're daydreaming, they're actually seeing what they're seeing someplace in some reality. Parallel dimension on Earth that looks like here, but is different, and so forth. They haven't been taught any of this growing up, so why should they be aware of it? What is imagining something while the eyes and brain are looking at the parking lot is the real being running the body. The brain does not have the ability to imagine anything. The gray brain cells in between your ears do not imagine. They don't have a motion picture camera and a projector screen on which you can see stuff. That's not its function. So without realizing it, people are imagining things all the time, good and bad. But it is the Atma running the body that's doing that, not the body or the brain. Here's what I send out. Safely show me deliberately hidden truth on a grand multidimensional scale, and the much greater knowing of the expansive love within it. These words are not random. They're very carefully constructed with the assistance of a very close friend of mine who is not from Earth, who is an ambassador from far beyond Earth to this planet, to the Galactic Alliance. Well, actually not this planet, but to the Galactic Alliance near the central core of the Milky Way galaxy. And his name is Ambassador Trinary. He's human. 18 feet tall was his body form. 8-stranded DNA, not 2 like we have on Earth. Did not evolve on Earth, didn't evolve in the Milky Way galaxy, not in Andromeda either. He had, and his race had, a large hand in developing body forms like what we have, to the point where beings on worlds evolved where Atmas could run bodies and be space travelers and get in and out of bodies and know who they are, etc. And that was done several billion years ago in galactic history. They had seeded or populated higher forms of life like this, like genetic scientists in a way, until those races could become spacefaring, and at the time they were all peaceful, and then they vanished from the scene, backed off into eternity to see what everybody would do with it. And what we call the experiment of evil are the positive and negative streams in the lower dimensions that run through Atmas like they shouldn't. Beings get caught in imagining both things simultaneously in one moment of the day or another. Fear of the future, or happiness and laughter. Contradictory emotions are coupled to imagination. And imagination tells this omnipresent force what to go do with itself for you, good or bad. We are to learn how to use the imagination properly, and the correct way to utilize this higher faculty, this godly power, is to intentionally create with your imagination new ways of doing things that are only of an uplifting benefit to all life. And that means all life in the grand multidimensional creation, not just life on Earth. For people to do that effectively, they have to be able to know what all that life is out there. As the Atma, we can know this even while we're living in a body or running a body on Earth while it's alive. And unless I say this to people and get this across to them, they're not going to be aware that it's possible. So this is telepathic. I am speaking from the white core of my being, running my own body, which is in the trance state called sleep right now. I've learned over time and with training how to run the eyes and mouth and communicate with people for these Zoom sessions, these radio shows, how to guide them on these journeys. I go with them so that they can begin to remember what it's like to imagine being on another planet, what it's like to being out in the universe, what it's like to go to a parallel dimension on Earth and see what it's like here in a higher molecular time rate. Very real physical worlds, but very different from the world you know. And to travel into the upper worlds beyond the void, where creativity in a new way is possible. From there, beings can collectively create a new way of running the existing multidimensional creation below the void, the dimensions of time and space, so to speak. They cannot be changed from beings in the lower dimensions, but they can be changed for the better from beings working collectively in the upper dimensions. All beings that run bodies on Earth today originated in the upper worlds, though they've been made to forget this a very long time ago. That means everyone on Earth, on this planet, is actually an extraterrestrial in origin, because no human form of any race ever evolved on this planet. There was nothing that came out of the sea, which is just theory, like a fish walking on flippers that eventually changes and becomes a human being. No. Human beings were brought here from evolving on other worlds out in the galaxies. They never evolved on Earth, so they're never going to find the missing bone, the missing piece that will connect us to Cro-Magnon, Neanderthal, or any other species, including monkeys. Because human beings in this form did not evolve on this planet originally in the first place. When people on Earth are given full disclosure here, they will understand this, and school systems will be quite different. People on Earth collectively and in mass, classified, hidden government, royal families, and the mass of people, no longer have use of their higher faculties consciously in such a way that they could get themselves out of this trap they're in. They're going to require the assistance of kind beings, vast numbers of them from beyond this planet. At one time or another, everybody on this Earth will know extraterrestrials exist. But not from an invasion from space. No. By direct experience on a planetary scale. That's coming our way. Make no mistake about it. It cannot be reversed by any power on this planet. If people want to get out of a quarantine status in this solar system and play among the stars, we are not going to be allowed to take all this nonsense and deceit and dishonesty that people practice as normal business on this Earth out there, because they're not going to tolerate it, now or ever. Doesn't matter how many reverse engineered spacecraft or technologies are used or made on this planet, they will not be allowed to play among the stars. And this planet's full of people will not be able to play among the stars the way we are now. So we're headed for some big changes. Not destructive changes, not rioting in the streets, consciousness changes. I work with the first half of the word human as in you, because it's a carrier wave. It's pure. It has no negative and positive in it, and it connects to a source of energy that has neither. And that connects to the source from whence we all came. It begins a process of recovering the being's awareness as an atma, not a body. What people on Earth refer to as soul, without knowing what it is, what it looks like, or who they are. Most people think they have a soul somewhere as a body tucked away that they maybe pull out someday. They don't realize that they're our soul running the body. It's the other way around. They can't pull a soul out of a back pocket in a human body and look at it. They are that, running a body. The sooner people get that in their heads and get that woken up, the better off they'll be. When we go into the trance state called sleep, like you put your body in every night without effort, usually. The body does this by you, the being, causing the pineal gland in the center of the brain to secrete serotonin. This makes melatonin, different chemicals, which they'll put the body, the blood working, the lungs working, the heart pumping, on automatic, peacefully asleep, safe, while you're gone all night somewhere. Doesn't it make sense that you should be aware of what you're doing in half your life when your body's asleep and you're not here? What is all that? Where is all that awareness in people on Earth? I can't blame them. They were brought up on a planet not being taught any of this. None of it at all. Why should they think that dreams aren't dreams? Why should they think that the imagination isn't their brain? It isn't. And it never has been and never will be coming from the brain. REM state and alpha state and these sleep states are relative conditions the body goes into when the being's further away from it. Eyes fluttering, that's just the being connected to it, keeping it running. The kind of energy beam that connects to the body through the pineal gland from the Atma cannot be broken. It's not a silver cord or a golden cord between an astral body and a physical body, etc. It isn't something that can be severed with beam weapons or a nuclear bomb, because it is not made of matter. It's not atoms. It can't be split. The sooner people on Earth begin to remember this, the more enlightened they will become and the freer they will be. Freedom from fear is the first threshold they must cross to even begin to recover true free will. You cannot have true free will and be operating in fear of the future at the same time. The two do not mix. One is real and one is artificial and negative and is erasable. The other is not. I want to make that clear. I send out these tones on increasingly higher tone levels so that your forms you're running in other planes, including the one you have on Earth, will go into the sleep state on all those levels so that you, the spherical energy being, can go on these journeys with me, meet wonderful beings from other worlds and other systems who are there to go on these journeys with us to learn from us as well. I carry out this and send this out telepathically to assist you to simply put your body to sleep while you stay alert and aware of my voice. You need something beyond just yourself to focus on to stay conscious so you don't go into the old habit that you grew up with, identifying with the body and going unconscious with it when you put it to sleep. People have experience every night, but they identify with the body. So when they come back, they don't have any idea of how to download where they've been into that brain that doesn't know where you've been. Simple, huh? So this takes some practice, some exercising of dormant faculties that some of you haven't used in several billion years through countless lifetimes. This goes back a long way in galactic and multidimensional history. I'll begin these tones now to be of assistance to all of you, and then we'll go on a journey. You. This is also communicating with other beings of an advanced, evolved, I don't want to use the word spiritual because it's been so abused on earth, of an advanced kind nature as fellow Atmas who know who they are, spherical. When you look at planets and stars and moons, they are round. They are patterned after the beings that made them. We are comprised of the energy of the source, like a pure drop of it in a mighty ocean of it. And we all had a hand in helping to create what you call the lower dimensions of time and space in a history you can't possibly remember yet. But you're destined to recover this awareness in your journey in life. People on earth, for the most part, do not know what their purpose for existing is. It is, quite simply put, to deliberately and of true free will utilize the creative imagination to only bring into existence that which will be of an uplifting benefit to all life in the grand multidimensional creation. This is actually the destiny of every living, sentient Atma or being in all of creation on all the worlds, in time and space and beyond them. Imagine being above your body that's in the trance state. It's asleep. It's simply at rest. And you are conscious. You're a spherical being. When you look out of the white core, which is like a sun, it's radiant, it's white light, you can see in every direction. You can look down on that body from the ceiling where you live, or from above the house where you live, or beside it. Smile kindly on that physical form that you're running. It needs to be enlightened. It did not grow up with any of this higher awareness of the other realities in its brain. You have to go and experience it consciously and download it to this vehicle for it to become enlightened on Earth. This is a fact. This is not open for debate. It's not conjecture. It's the way it really is. You can be in the atmosphere where you live at 5,000 feet, looking down on your house, your car, where you're laying in a field, wherever you are, and see this spherical form of you hovering above that body, near it. And you realize you are also this same spherical form hovering at the same time up in the atmosphere. The Atma is not limited to being in only one place at one time. It can station itself or duplicate itself in different realities and move between those points. Imagine yourself in space above the planet like the space shuttle, but a little further out in orbit as a spherical being, like what we showed you all, that Perry showed you, in an image of what soul or the Atma looks like. It has structure. Each layer of color in it has a thickness of teardrop-shaped individual lights, self-luminous. These are higher faculties of being. All the many lives you've lived in multiple dimensions are stored there and can be recovered. But if you don't know they're there and you don't put your attention on them and don't imagine using it, you will not use it. And this divine spirit people blandly send out of their mouth on earth as if they knew what it was, is a co-creator with us. The Atma, or what people call soul, is in creation to be a co-creator with that supportive, omnipresent energy. This is our purpose, our destiny, our reason for existing. Make no mistake about this. This is known amongst vast numbers of races out in the Milky Way, Andromeda, and other galaxies in the higher dimensions above the physical universe. You're in space. You do not need to breathe. You don't need to have oxygen. You don't feel cold or heat. You're not matter. You're not the nuclear explosions going off in the sun at high temperature. You're an energy that is not nuclear in nature. It is energy, but it's not made of atoms and protons and neutrons and electrons. More kind of like a quantum in a great vast quantum of energy. The quantum not being nuclear in nature either, in reality. Here in space, you will realize that you have fellow beings with us, and you can see other Atmas hovering there in a circle around Ambassador Trinary. I'm standing beside him. I look like him. I'm an Atma. My little body is about 36 in age, perfectly healthy, that I'm showing you standing in the air so you know who I am. Tyrellian's body standing next to me is 18 feet tall, human, elegant, white gown on, long blonde hair, big blue eyes, slightly pointed ears. He begins his part in this by putting 2 thumbs up. This is not just wishing us well. He's doing something with energy when he does this. He's maintaining a stable balance for us to focus on this journey and not get sidetracked in all the baubles and spectacles that you can get sidetracked into in all the multidimensional universe, particularly in the 4 lower dimensions of time and space. We can go to any planet, visit anybody on any spaceship, go to any level parallel dimension. In the physical universe, there's 144 of them, and 144 in the astral, where all emotion comes from. A higher heaven to people on earth, but certainly not the source itself. You can go clear up to the 4th dimension, the mental plane, where the mind is working in the form you have there and has transferred the intelligence down through the bodies to you on earth through the pineal gland. So your mind and your emotions really don't come from the brain in a physical body either. And you've been made in no uncertain terms to squash, suppress this out of fear. It's an unjustified fear because what you're told in that artificial program is that you will be tortured to death again if you remember who you are. This is not true, because the tyrants who did it to you, sneakily sneaking around corners, did this breaking an off-world treaty over 500,000 years, always just short of going to all-out war. There has not been a war in our galaxy in 500,000 years since the last one came to an end and a treaty was struck, and it's been policed. There have been craft shot down in our atmosphere with little aliens in it about to do something really nasty, but they were not shot down by our militaries. People have recovered these craft and reverse engineered things, and that's fine. But a lot of the technology we're enjoying today, some of it was given to us not by the good guys, but by a tyrant race who had an ulterior motive for wanting to share their more antiquated extraterrestrial technology with us. The beings who struck a treaty with them on Earth back in 1947 and after that were hoodwinked and manipulated with the device tyrants carried. It affects their subconscious mind to make decisions for the benefit of an off-world race against the better judgment of the people that this was done to. This was policed, and it's been decades getting rid of this problem on this planet. We are in space above Earth looking down on it. When you look out in space, you can see the planet Earth with its polar ice caps. You can see the moon, vacant, craters all over it, doesn't turn on its axis, very little gravity, moves around the planet Earth, sun's off in the distance, and you can see billions of stars in our galaxy all around us. But as an Atma hovering in space, it doesn't look like it's a black background supporting all those stars like you see in the Space Hubble telescope, time-lapse photography image. Human eyes on Earth can't see into a higher frequency, but if they could, they would see what the Atma can see. That all that background is not black, it is a brilliant white light with a golden essence to it. And it's not matter, and the stars are clearly visible. Hovering in it, it supports them. When you look at Trinary and me standing there, you're going to see there are a number of other people beginning to appear here, or you're going to start to become aware of them now. One of them is Master Ramu. He's considered a master, but he doesn't call himself that. He's a fellow Atma and of great wisdom. He's not from Earth, he is human. And you can see an Atma hovering to the left side of Trinary, and a body form is appearing that has a maroon-colored robe, sandals, this golden quartz pure staff with this Ankh symbol on top, a cross with a vertical oval hole, a hole in an oval structure, which is a staff, a device. He carries it so people will recognize him in a certain way. Short cropped curly black beard and curly black hair. He is not from Earth, though he has a body stationed on Earth, immortalized. That means it does not age. Believe me when I tell you that beings that do this, as rare as it is, do it with the full awareness that they are not the body they're running, or they could not do it. To the right of Trinary and myself is a being called Opelum, who has pale blue skin, shiny, luminous black hair, emerald green eyes, human. He's holding up his hands. His body appears to be about 40. He's very, very ancient. This is an immortalized form he has on a planet called Oceania, the other side of the Milky Way galaxy. 3 parallel dimensions of time, rate, and molecular matter up from where we are on the Earth you're familiar with. Yes, parallel dimensions do exist. And he is showing you little webs between his fingers, so longer fingers than an Earth human. And he lifts his neck, and you can see 3 little gill slits here. Very, very hard to see. This human race evolved on a mostly water-covered world several billion years ago with the ability to breathe underwater or on land. Yet our genetic ancestry is so tied to them, you could actually mate with them today. Not that they would want to mate with anybody on Earth, but that you get the point that genetic history comes from the Say-Rays. We have Say-Rays DNA in us, not as advanced as what theirs were. When the Say-Rays immortalized their body over 1 billion years ago, they didn't make them live forever. They dematerialized them and stored this genetic structure in an atom, in the, what you would call an atom. It's not really an atom, but in one of the teardrops in the spherical being they are. And when they want to manifest a form on any planet to carry out a mission, they'll draw energy or imagine energy into the omnipresent force around them and fill this genetic structure instantly, and there's a body standing there. Carry out a mission, and they just dissolve it and move on. They don't have the encumbrance of running a physical body on a planet. It's very advanced. Other races in our galaxy, some of whom we'll meet, have immortalized their physical bodies. There's a couple I know on a world on the other side of the Milky Way galaxy, a couple, a mated pair, masculine and feminine, that are 10 feet tall, human-like, long silver hair, violet eyes, longer fingers and torsos, etc., than we have on Earth, elegant, dignified, and their body forms are 3.5 million years old. They have no illusion whatsoever that they're a body. They run them for the benefit of people on almost more than half of the planets in our galaxy, in a system of planets that have never been at war. War in this universe took place in the other half of the galaxy, on the Galactic Alliance side of things. The Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds, headquartered on a planet near the central core of the Milky Way galaxy, is aligned with these beings now, so virtually the entire galaxy, we call the Milky Way, is benevolent, with a few tyrant spacefaring races that are quarantined, shall we say, as they're being changed. The drives that make them tyrants are being neutralized. There are no more odd tyrant races in underground bases on this planet. They have been removed, not by our military-industrial complex. If you know what I'm implying here, then you'll understand that this was done despite what anybody on Earth would have said about it, because ultimately their presence would have destroyed this Earth so they could use its resources. For decades, this what you call the classified military-industrial complex on this planet has been desperately trying to figure a way out of the agreements and trap they got themselves into. It wasn't their fault. They were manipulated by a technology in the days when the CIA was founded that was way beyond their skill or ability to perceive. And what was used on them was done illegally. So there is no more threat from outside the planet to people on Earth today. What's left on Earth are people programmed subconsciously in fear, both of who they are, what they knew before they were born, getting out of their body and rediscovering this. This is what people are afraid of, whether they'll admit it or not. What drives them subconsciously are artificially implanted negative programs done through the misuse of extraterrestrial science. What is underway now is a process to neutralize that. Earth is now run by people who don't remember who they are, making mistakes every day. Ultimately, that would end in the destruction of this planet, and that will not be tolerated. We don't have the right to destroy this planet and affect hundreds of billions of lives in parallel dimensions people on Earth don't even know exist yet. We'll never have that right, and we don't have that right. If people want to play among the stars and get out of their bodies and meet other beings that can do this and fly spaceships, they're going to have to remember who they are first. Practical, common sense. In space, you can see Trillian, you can see the Earth with its polar ice caps. And now watch, as you look at the Earth, it changes. You can see like a little heat wave roll over the vision in front of you. and you see a different Earth in the same place with no polar ice caps. It has a huge continent centered over the equator facing you. It extends from one hemisphere to the other, about half the planet. Moves upward towards the North Pole to a point and then downward. Then it goes downward towards the South Pole about a third of the way above it and then back up. On the bottom point above the South Pole is a green emerald beach, glowing. You can see it glowing even from space. When you look at where the moon is, it suddenly changes. It has a full oxygen atmosphere and clouds and mountains and rivers and beautiful gardens. 5 dome cities on the surface, pyramids golden-sided with quartz caps in each one, people walking around in them and on the surface outside. And as this moon turns on its axis, because it does, it moves around the Earth, and you can see coming into view the backside, several large dome cities in a mountainous area. This is in a third higher molecular time rate parallel dimension above the world you're familiar with, that exists in time and space on a higher frequency. If you have the technology to move between these time rates, you can go to these different realities. The Atma, us, can do it without a ship. We can also do it in ships with beings who have the technology to do this. You are looking at the continent of Lemuria as it is in this parallel dimension, on a planet that never flipped its poles, to a moon that is like our moon should be. Down at that green emerald beach you can see down there, you'll feel that you're drawn to it because it's a very high vibration. And so Trillian and I and others, these several master teachers, and all of you on this trip are going to journey down to the atmosphere of this planet, moving through space effortlessly as spherical beings of energy. And in an instant, you find yourself hovering as a spherical being above a crescent-shaped or half-moon base-shaped green emerald beach, glowing with a foot of green light above emerald green sand. And you see your body appear that looks like you, about 36. I don't care if you're 10 years old or 100. It'll appear to be about 36, optimum age, healthy, vital, ageless. And you're in shorts or wearing something comfortable, but you can see your bare feet wiggling your toes into this glowing emerald green sand. And you reach down with your hand and pick it up, and you can see that these little grains that make up the sand are pure, polished, round, emerald green crystals glowing. This green energy that is a gift from a race on the other side of our Milky Way galaxy was brought to this place and put here so that people could come here and get charged up with a green type of energy that's about memory and recall. You can feel this green energy soothing, cooling, and warm as it moves up your legs in this body form that looks like you, made of energy. It is not DNA. It moves up through the top of your head. You look up smiling because it's uplifting, constructive, and it moves up into the white core of the spherical being you are, hovering above that body form. Both are you. It goes into the white core and is distributed out to the green layer, which we showed at the beginning of this journey, what the Atma looks like. And there it begins to turn on certain teardrop higher faculties about recall on a multidimensional scale. When you look inland, here's this curve, and we'll look right at the back of it, and there's a brown moss-covered path that goes straight back through tall jungle trees about a mile, maybe half a mile, but you can see a white marble floor sitting in the middle of a jungle, and it looks like a quartz crystal statue of a woman standing upon a pedestal. And she has her hands out, and you suddenly find yourself hovering around this statue, several hundred feet wide of this white marble floor. And there's this 10-foot tall statue of a woman with her hands up like this, beside her head, glowing with green light. This is a device, an interdimensional doorway portal. And it's charging that green sand from her hands. And it's coming all the way from their planet. When you look at this statue, you can see that it's pure, clear quartz. And you can see that she has a gold band around her head with a emerald cut, teardrop shaped green crystal sitting in the middle of it, right over her forehead between her brows. Long silver hair that looks like silver polished metal, but you can tell it's soft, and violet eyes. Beautiful woman, elegant, taller than us on earth, longer fingers. She's wearing a beautiful sheer gown, bare feet. And when you look into this crystal, you can see through it that there is a huge void of green light. And this woman, the actual woman, is standing in the atmosphere inside through this doorway of this quartz statue. And she's simply asking you to come in. You find yourself moving right through this crystal, and suddenly you're hovering as an Atma around this woman. And then you see your physical form appear. Looks like you about 36. And she has her right hand up in greeting. And you can tell that this is the actual representation of the being itself. And then a man appears standing beside her, a little taller, with silver hair and violet eyes. This is her mate. They're telling you telepathically and showing you that they come from a planet on the other side of the Milky Way galaxy. And you can see it form in the atmosphere, the green energy, beside them. It is a planet 4 times larger than Earth, no polar ice caps, little land masses all over it, and oceans all around it. Dome cities, 12 of them that you can see, and each one contains 3 tall, 4-sided, golden-sided quartz-capped pyramids. They are devices. And then you can see 3 moons at different distances circling this planet the size of Earth, no polar ice caps. And out in the distance, they are circling a trinary sun system. One is a blue giant, new star. One is a yellow one, a little further out like our sun. And one is a red dwarf, further out. And they circle around the blue giant, and these planets circle around them. It is a trinary sun system. In other journeys, we've gone to that world and visited what it's like to walk on the surface by a violet-colored stream, on a violet sandy pathway woven through what looks like plateaus like you'd see in Sedona, Arizona, and a huge dome city in the distance between them. And you suddenly find yourself walking along a violet sandy path. And these 2 beings are walking toward us. And you are a sphere hovering above a body that looks like you, walking towards them. There's Master Ramu, Opelum, to each side of them, smiling at you. And they walk up to you, all of you on this journey, and tell you telepathically, consciousness to consciousness, that the body forms you're seeing are more than 3.5 million years old in Earth terms. They are genetic scientists. They have mastered this. They are not the only race in creation that has done this. They keep these bodies at this age for the benefit of all the people in the worlds that comprise more than half of our Milky Way galaxy. They are not bodies. If you look at them, you'll see the Atma clearly hovering above those body forms. And that is who is talking with you. Then you find yourself back inside this huge green energy field with this woman standing there next to her mate. They come from a planet called Zantron 1. They are from a race called Zantron. They are not originally from the Milky Way galaxy. And they put their right hand up in greeting and to say farewell. And you beings can go and play this recording back when it's done of this journey, and ask questions or become more enlightened if you wish to. You look up and you find yourself suddenly hovering around Trillian, Ramu, and Opelum. There are other master teachers here now that form a sphere of energy around us. About 100. And you can see men and women, masculine and feminine forms from different worlds appear out in front of those atmas to greet you. They're going on this journey. No, we're not done. When you look up, you can see a blue-green energy field form around us. Above this white marble floor where this angel statue is standing, and we're hovering in a circle around Tyrellian, and this vortex opens up in the atmosphere above this parallel dimension on Earth. And it looks like water, luminous water, flowing slowly clockwise. It goes up and forms a tunnel. And this is made out of a special combination of hue, energy from the higher worlds, above the void, and has been extended down to the physical universe and opens a doorway through which we're going to move to get somewhere beyond the void, beyond the dimensions of time and space. And then Tyrellian starts moving upward, and we move upward with him. You feel like you're being pulled upward gently. You feel elated, a loving, nurturing energy. There is no negative nature that we can bring with us on this trip. No subconscious drives. That's left back on Earth with your sleeping body. And we move up through this whirling energy of water-like light and sound that's humming with the hue. And in an instant, we see us shooting upward at high speed until you see a blue atmosphere somewhere far up ahead. And in an instant, we're through it on the other side. And you look down and see this vortex connected all the way down to, you can still see us hovering around Tyrellian, all the way down there above Earth with Lemurian continent on it, and the live moon, and then it vanishes. We are now hovering high in a blue atmosphere that is lit like the sun. But there is no sun, no moon, no stars here. And when you look down, you see 6 mountain peaks snow-covered in a hexagon around a white kind of sandy island. And there's something hovering, a sphere of blue light hovering above a pedestal. And around this blue island is this blue-green water, luminous. You just saw it used to form this tunnel to get here. And when you look out around you, you see that we are hovering high in the atmosphere above a huge circular landmass, like a small continent. And around it is a white glowing beach that completely encircles it. It extends out almost to the edge of the horizon. It's quite large. When you look to the west from up here, you can see a glass-like blue tower that's transparent, that's down on a lower plateau to the left side, the west side of one of the mountains. And it's coming up out of a white marble-like floor, circular. And it goes up high, and there's an administration, a flattened spherical area through which you can see through it, and it goes up to a point like a minaret. Down at the base of the white marble floor, white roadways extend off of it in every direction like the spokes of a bicycle tire. Out in every direction. When they go into the base of the mountain, they go through tunnels. The interior of this huge floating landmass is hollow. And you can see into it. And you can see a shaft of white light with a golden essence roaring in a tube of energy up and down the middle of this hollow interior. And then on the other side, you see the cavern openings, oval, perfectly cut, extend, and then the white roadways go out to the far end of the landmass to the white sandy beach that's glowing. This is what's called the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. It was brought into existence between the 5th dimension, the Atma plane, just above the void, and the 6th dimension above the void. It is a specially created parallel dimension between the two. Nothing here is made of nuclear energy at all. No time and space. And this is a facility, a teaching facility. And there are if you look at this western roadway that goes out to the western coast, north, south, east, and west, you'll see that after it leaves this white marble floor where this administration tower is, it turns to the right into a clearing, turns to the left into a clearing, and then goes like that, dozens of them, all the way down to what it empties onto the white sandy beach. In the clearing on the right, you can see a four-sided, golden-sided, quartz-capped pyramid, quite large. And there is something inside that is utilized to enlightened beings who come here, to help them remember their purpose for existing. To the left, when you actually come into that white roadway, you see a clearing with a tall ivory white dome structure. And inside that is a special sword that's 5 stories high that beings are put through an experience to be able to hold the weight of it up effortlessly. There are teaching facilities all over this landmass. Beings from the lower dimensions, master teachers, people from the Galactic Alliance, come here in order to teach and to learn. We are here in the presence of this blue luminous atmosphere, which is self-luminous. The land glows. The white roadway glows. The blue tower glows. Everything is self-luminous here, including us. We don't need a sun, planets, or stars. This landmass is floating in a vast void of blue luminous energy. And if you look at the blue energy around you, you will see that it is supported by a field of white light with a golden essence right behind the blue light. That blue light is for co-creating new ways of doing things with the source many planes up from here, so that we can change the way the lower dimensions of time and space are operated. One of the things underway from here is the retiring of evil as an experiment, the conflict between good and bad, replacing it with the new ray in the omnipresent you that works now in only one direction. And that is to instill in Atmas like us real free will and the recall and wisdom that goes with knowing how to create only that which will be of an uplifting benefit to all life. The imagination should not be used in any other manner. You want enlightenment, you want freedom, then disciplining your use of the imagination and understanding the need is critical, vitally important. Breathe in this blue atmosphere while you're floating there around Trinary with your body standing out in front of you, which is made of energy, looks like you. And you can feel it go into your lungs and right out the back of you. When you breathe out, it rushes through you and it charges you, and that energy is moved back into the Atma, hovering behind the body that you are, into the white core, and into the blue layer that surrounds you as an Atma, turning on some of those teardrop shades, higher faculties. This goes back hundreds of billions of years to a time when you used to know how to work up here. This is all capable of being recalled by you, but not if you don't know what to see or what to find in the worlds above the void, because this omnipresent living force can only take you where you imagine, no further, no less. So establishing what can be seen in the upper worlds and having a basic groundwork to cover so that you can imagine further and do more things is essential to recovering who you are. One of the planes far above here is called the U expansion ray plane. Below it is the realm of what are called the silent mentors. They are beings who run the mechanics of creation. Doorways between parallel dimensions, between major divisions, between the void and the realm of what is called Sat Nam, the true name, the first word, which operates a reality just above the void. We are in the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, just above there. This energy you're bathing in is to help you remember your purpose for why you exist as an Atma, not a body. When you look all the way down through the center of this huge landmass, you can see that white island surrounded by blue-green, luminous water at the base between all 6 mountain peaks. And you find yourself hovering as an Atma with all of us around what looks to be like a 4-foot wide cobalt blue luminous crystal. It's hovering above a blue gold-laced pedestal about 4 feet high. In the center of it is a cobalt blue star, luminous and bright. You can see in that star a shaft of gold-white light running up and down in the center of this crystal. It's the same shaft of light you saw in the hollowed-out interior of this entire landmass, inside the 6 mountains, down inside. This device moves energy from the upper worlds, from the U expansion ray plane, through the realm of the silent mentors, through the ocean of sound and light, the source, prime creator, down through this device, down through this landmass, down into this fountain in the next plane below here, and then down across this void, which is a pale blue light and it appears to be nothing in it. That's why they call it a void, and then down through the lower dimensions of time and space. It supports all that exists by lowering the rate of vibration of a higher hue energy to one that's a little slower or lower. When this energy crosses the void into the etheric plane, it splits into a dual current, positive and negative, that winds around itself like DNA. It has a third energy around it, which is a white light with a golden essence, and it's supposed to be kept intact, so that when you utilize it to create in the lower worlds, you do not create karma, opposites, cause and effect. The way to get this working properly is to understand and become aware that you are a being that is spherical, that has command over what you imagine this dual current to do. If you forget this and you start creating good and bad out of your imagination emotionally, you will be trapped by it. The way to undo that trap is to know, to awaken, to become aware of this fact. Our purpose is to utilize the creative ability to see into the grand multidimensional creation, go where we wish, co-create with others for the good of all life, in freedom, and to be trusted with it. When you look at that blue star radiating, you can feel there's a blue star duplicate to it, radiating in the core of the white core, the center of your own being, so that you have a link directly to this place above the void, all the way back down to Earth. We've bypassed the 4 lower dimensions of time and space because it would be a waste of time for us to explore the vast numbers of worlds and different molecular matter in them. We want to recover who we are and our co-creative purpose first, and then explore. When you look down into this crystal, this sphere, you can see right in the blue star the beginning of the image of all of us hovering above this parallel dimension on Earth. I'm looking at Lemuria with the glowing green beach, no polar ice caps, and a live moon circling the planet. This is a prototype. You can see the emerald green beach, and inland beyond the statue of this woman, you can see a domed city covering 3 4-sided glowing gold pyramids with a quartz cap and one single lone snow-covered mountain. It's at the base, and you can see, and it's on the right side of the dome, you can see it from space, like you have telephoto lenses in your eyes. 2/3 of the way up towards the summit is a cavern opening and a blue-green water that is luminous. There's a mineral in it that gives it light characteristics, is pouring out of it, roaring out of it, falling down a sheer cliff face into a blue-green forest that surrounds the backside of this domed city. It becomes a river that makes its way out to the ocean. out to that emerald green beach you saw earlier. Put your feet in it. There are beings who work in that dome city from the Galactic Alliance. There are master teachers from the multidimensional universe that work there. And they can come back and forth between this Lemuria that never had its poles flip, Earth, and where we are, and be quite invisible to begin to carry out this change in creation. Be aware of this when you look and find yourself suddenly hovering around Tyrellian and Ramu and Opel and all the others, and a sphere of 100 beings around us who went on this journey. They are from the Galactic Alliance. Some of them are master teachers, men and women. They have bodies like this on various worlds, but they know how to come here as the Atma as well. And then they vanish because they're going back to wherever they live to deliver this experience to hundreds of billions of others. It speeds things up. And you can see that this planet you're looking at below us has no polar ice caps. And then it changes back to the Earth you're familiar with right in front of you. Slower vibration molecularly, and you can see the polar ice caps, the oceans and land masses you're familiar with, and you can see the barren moon with the craters on it. And then you see yourself hovering above your physical body as a sphere, your true self, smiling kindly down on that body in the trance state called sleep. What you're doing now is of free will, delivering into the brain and consciousness of that body, turning on brain cells, turning on function, so that you can store there this experience that was never in that brain. You let this beautiful blue light of the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, backed by a white golden light, flow through you and out into the Earth planet like a continuous gentle stream, so that it can benefit others as well as you. Then when you're ready, open your eyes. I can get these headphones off finally and come out and bring my own body back.
Thank you for the journey, Scott.
Yeah, you asked me earlier if we could go up into the Hue Expansion Ray plane. But I think maybe we better do that in steps. Better to get people grounded to other realities close to home first. Getting across the void into the Hue Expansion Ray Academy is, well, let's just say that people in the Galactic Alliance that's made up of nearly 500 million spacefaring races in just our galaxy alone, in this parallel dimension, are just beginning to travel there now with us. So as enlightened and as advanced as they are, they're remembering how to do this. And it's good for us on Earth. So I want to leave your audience with this. And of course, when I send this to you, you'll be able to put it up on your YouTube channel. And then I recommend that people find a quiet place during the day when they're awake and alert, not at night before they go to bed. And go put the body in the trance state called sleep, put on a set of headphones and go through this again. They'll find a wealth of information and enlightenment in it, and then go about their day. Before they go to bed at night, I would recommend that instead of trying to make that complicated to remember where you go when the body's asleep, which you never learned growing up, just send out that statement. Safely show me deliberately hidden truth on a grand multidimensional scale and the much greater knowing of the expansive love within it. That's telling this omnipresent force what to go do with itself. It's basically saying, I'm ready to know the whole thing again and co-create with the source. That's what it's doing. Okay.
Scott, please wait. Since we do the radio show once a week, the audience can always go back to the previous videos to go on journey. So still fresh experience.
You and I have a hotel radio show to do on Saturday evening at 6 o'clock, don't we?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I will say pleasant dreams for now and stop the recording.